Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chiseled. And why do we call it Chiseled? Because we're all work in progress. Hello again. I'm your host, Rob Commodari. I'm also the author of Better Than You Think. And today I have AJ Yager out of Eden, Utah. AJ, he's a high performance coach. So, as a high performance coach, emotion coach, and hypnotherapist, which I want to ask a ton of questions on that, AJ helps recode your unconscious mind and move out of unhealthy patterns of suppression into healthier patterns of connection and better end results. He is the secret weapon for the dynamic achievers who want to live at their highest potential. AJ, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. And I love the name of it, Chiseled. Like, what's a fantastic word, chiseling away. I use the word chisel a lot in my coaching when we're talking about chiseling away the negative emotions or the negative energies that get stuck in our body. So chiseled is a word I totally resonate with. So I love it.
That's awesome. Thank you for saying that, because we're always evolving, and if we decide and choose to go into that growth mode to become better, you're going to have to get chiseled away till you evolve into that person. So I want to go right into the piece where it says unlock your potential. AJ, when I love that because it resonates with me, because I always tell people, and this might be the third time or maybe more that people have heard it on this podcast, but I tell people I want to live to my fullest potential, right? So when I die and I'm sitting or laying in my casket and somebody's up there giving my eulogy, and if they say, man, it's a shame, Rob had all the potential in the world, I'm going to get out of that casket. I'm going to run up there and I'm going to choke them because I want to be out of gas. I want to have all that potential unlocked. So that's what it means to me. I want to live to the highest level I can. So how does AJ unlock people's potential?
Oh, beautiful question. And what an awesome zest for life, right? That's a beautiful thing to have. And not a lot of people live like that, right? So what I like to do, what I'm here to do, part of my dharma, my purpose in this life is to really help unlock what is possible inside of us. One of the gifts I've always had since I was a kid was to be able to see, feel, and experience people's best, meaning their best self without all the stuff that's there. From a young age, I always can see people from who they are and who they can become past all the illusions and all the stuff that gets stuck in them. And that was just kind of made me a natural coach, I guess. And so with that ability, what it is getting a clear mind, an open heart, getting these two working together in a beautiful way, and being an open vessel for life to just come, because life is going to keep flowing. It's where we get caught up, where I see that my clients and other people get, we get really stuck in life, is when we get traumas, certain experiences in our life, memories from the past since the time that we're born, and sometimes from before that. There are things that get stuck in our body emotionally, energetically, these charges that then create preference for how we want life to show up. So if somebody did XYZ to us in the past and their name was Frank, but a new Frank's coming into our life and they're a potential business partner, oh no, I don't like Franks. Nope, no Franks for me. We're judging that based on this past experience that has nothing to do with this external Frank, right? It's just a simple explanation, but we want to cleanse the body, the vessel, and the mind of all the stuff that's kind of blocking our flow of becoming our authentic self, so that we don't have all these preferences with how life or business and finances should show up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So that preference is derived from, like you said, a trauma or a memory. And I tell people, I do a presentation every now and then, and I talk about what's holding you back, what holds people back. Yeah. And I remember as a kid, I never heard the words "I love you" or "I accept you" from my parents, right? So early on, there was a Rob with a low self-esteem, and never hearing that. Now you believe, and the logic may tell you that your parents love you, but if you didn't hear it and you're a words of affirmation person, it puts up a block. And I used to tell people, once I was able to understand through a game of catch with my dad, by the way, just because I would throw the ball to him and he would accept it, he would throw it back and he'd say, "I love you." And it was a metaphor I used. And once I understood that took down one of the blocks for me. I'm not saying all the blocks were removed, but it took down one of the blocks. So that's very interesting. So go ahead.
It's not necessarily things that happen. It's also things that didn't happen, right? It's that lack of love, lack of support, lack of physical touch. So it doesn't, and I want to also address trauma doesn't mean that it's a big thing. Trauma is trauma. It can be large. It can be small. We can take on these stories that are from our parents, people that are bringing us up in our life, from movie clips, from audio, from radio, all the data coming into our brains, into our sphere of influence, especially between the ages of 0 and 7. It's when our bodies, ourselves, our childlike self is in theta, in the brainwave of theta, where we're like sponges. We're taking it all in, and it's coding at that age. So that's why we have to be very careful with what we're saying around young people, what we're doing with them, especially between the young 0 and 7. I don't have kids yet, but I'm Uncle AJ to about 100 different kids. And I'm very cognizant of what I'm doing and all that. And also parents, like, parenting is not easy. I'm not a parent yet. I'm not saying I am, but there's a very crucial age there when all this stuff is getting imprinted inside of us. And so as adults, what we have to do, and a lot of the work that I do, is some of the darkest, hardest work that we're going to go back all the way to usually between 0 and 7, with many of these traumas or the things that are coming up, whether it's financial blocks, whether it's energy blocks, whether it's, I want to stop just drinking caffeine, or, I don't love myself. There's so many different things that can happen. These different fears and phobias that come up. It's all created back when you were generally a young child.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I got to point out, AJ's a young guy. He just said, I don't have any kids yet, right? So he's a young guy, and he's 41 right now. Right now, I think you're 41. You said, and he's been coaching since he's been 18 years old. So the question some people might say, like, who at 18 says, "Hey, I want to be a coach in the realm or the arena that you are"?
So yeah, right. It's a little bit out of the norm. I would bet. Well, it comes down to my grandfather. My grandfather was a mentor early in my life. So he challenged me to have a self-study course, basically outside of school, outside of sports, when I wanted to achieve a goal in my life. Instead of him buying it for me, or, just saying, just do a few chores here and there, he said, I want you to read a book, listen to an audio tape, or watch a video on these topics that I give you. And these topics were Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, Tony Robbins, Psychology of Winning, all these different self-development topics that he wanted to start integrating into my unconscious mind at a young age. And so he said, if you do this every single day, 30 to 45 minutes, write down a paragraph about what you learned. At the end of the week, we'll review it together. And after a year of doing this, I'll buy you this goal, this stereo that I wanted. And so it already started me down this track of learning and absorbing all of this amazing information about how we can become better at what we do, why we do what we do, the psychology and all that behind it. So basically that got me into a place where I wanted to help other people. And so I started early in business at 10 years old. And then just going through this whole process, I realized I love people. I love computers and technology, but I didn't see myself as like a Michael Dell or like a computer guy. I just love people. And I don't remember exactly. My grandfather was this mentor who was always 5 steps ahead of me, meaning he was always looking at like Nightingale Conant programs and different things that are coming out that were like, he could send me to, that are for adults. But, and he would sponsor me to some of these because I couldn't afford many of them at that time. But what we found was the Coaches Training Institute. I had become friends with a really awesome author, Rich Fetke, and he was a CTI trained, like a certified coach. And so I ended up just saying, well, I want to go to this event. And my grandfather took me to A Millionaire Maker with Ted Nicholas. Like my grandfather, who was probably one of the oldest in the rooms, and then me, who's one of the youngest in the rooms, we would go to some of these events together and people would be like, who are these two? What are they doing?
It's great.
We did that numerous times. And that's where it started, was like just this passion for learning and then applying it to not only my life, but then like, cool, well, how can I help other people? Now I was young, so I was just helping other young people. But as I got older and older, I was helping people older than myself. And I've never had an issue with age at all. It was always like, I was always hanging out with a lot older people than me.
So you started coaching at 18. You were going to these events prior to that, correct?
Yeah, I think 17 was my earliest one, the Millionaire Maker seminar. But then it was coaching, and then I would go to different NLP. So I was NLP certified and trained at 18 later. I did a lot between 17, 18, 19 around that time for training, as well as I had my computer business. And some of these things I was able to help pay for these trips and stuff. And some of them I went on by myself too.
AJ, what a gift! What a gift your grandfather gave you, man. I look at like myself. I discovered, I walked into my office one morning. I was 21 years old. I was a stockbroker, and I walked in, and there's this book on the guy's desk next to me called The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og
Yeah.
Mandino.
Great.
You're familiar with that book, right? And that's the first book I've read. I've read about 1,000 books since. So it was interesting. I kind of found it, or it fell in my lap, so to speak. But to be able to be given that gift at such an early age is amazing, man. It's amazing. So kudos to you and your grandfather.
You.
And everything, right? That's awesome.
Smart man. He's set a precedence for me. He's set a standard of excellence for me that I will continue to live up to, and want to spread that word. So thank you. I appreciate that. I received that.
Oh, my pleasure. So look, early on in this conversation, you said three things. You said you're able to see, feel, and experience what others are seeing, feeling, experiencing.
Yeah.
That to me is about awareness. Can you explain that a little more to us?
That's a good question. Some of these abilities, like I've obviously picked up coaching skill sets as I've become a better coach, and as well as doing, hours and hours and hours and hours of hypnotherapy. I'm starting to learn how I can help people recode things. And after you're doing thousands of sessions, you start to see patterns. And so not only do I actually like innately feel in my heart and sense what people are going through, generally I can like feel their level of fear. So on a scale of like 0 to 10, sometimes I'll be around people and like I get this inner sense of like, ooh, they're like really hitting anxiety right now, or really hitting fear, without really talking to them yet. I can feel these things. Then when we start talking, I'm like, oh, okay. Then I can navigate the conversation, and usually people will kind of come out with it if they want to share. And this is just in general in life. I can just feel this stuff. But when I have my clients, I do a deep dive with them. I really get to know them. I really get to go into the past and understand what's making them tick and how they're showing up in this way, from a heart's way and in a mind way, like the brain and the heart, like what's really going on there. So part of it I can explain, part of it I can't. I just feel certain things, and I've tuned into the universe. I've turned into myself and my higher self to be able to just be a better coach and like understand how people are operating. And then it's holding a safe space. It's holding a container that's like, hey, let's get in this trustworthy container. And like, now we can talk about anything. And this is your place to talk about the stuff you don't want to deal with. Like the unconscious mind is the place, the shadow place, where people are like, nope, I don't want to go there. That hurt too much. No, I'll just leave that. I'll just sweep that under the rug. And that's a lot of people's strategy. It's a strategy that can also create dis-ease in the body and the mind. It can create cancers. It can create these things when we're not dealing with these emotional things that are stuck in our body.
So it's like a defensive strategy, or even an unconscious strategy, would you say?
It's a defense mechanism, of course. Yeah. When things come up, we're having experiences that are not pleasant, and we have these negative emotions. By the way, emotions, whether they're positive or negative, are all gifts. These are gifts because the emotions aren't who we are. I think a lot of people, because they feel it so intensely, they think, oh, I'm this, I am that. It's really about observing those emotions. These emotions are coming up because they're a gift to tell us a message, to help guide us in a certain way. But in school, we aren't taught about emotions. We aren't taught about how to have healthy emotions and how to process emotions all the way so that they can just come up. Okay, we may feel anxiety, maybe a 4 or 5 or 6, and we sit with it. We lean into it. We learn to like, okay, what is this? What does this mean for me? Like, what can I do with this? There's a whole line of processing I do, and then let it go. It just goes away. It doesn't mean anxiety goes away forever. It means that your level of resistance, which a lot of people come to me when they're like a 15 out of 10, they're like anxious, fearful, self-doubt, imposter syndrome, all at a high level. It's not that those things go away completely. It's when those things come up, it just processes and goes through, and it doesn't bother you as much, right? You then are in clear mind and clear heart to solve whatever problem that is, or let that thing pass, let it go instead of hanging on to it.
Yeah. So answer this question for me, because I know what it means, but for the audience, not everybody might know this, and they may not have heard the word, but like we talk about the unconscious mind, right? Yeah. What is the unconscious mind?
The unconscious mind or subconscious mind,
right?
Is that like, and let me kind of put it in this way. We've got our conscious, or let's go this side, conscious mind, unconscious mind, and what we call superconscious. Conscious is a lot of the ego. It's the critical factor. It's the 5 or 10% of us that it's like the goal getter. or sorry, it's the goal setter. It's the thing that says, I want to go this way. It's the conscious area of our brains that we have that's different than other mammals, right? We have the ability to choose and have this conscious mind thinking here. But it's also very much like when we're in the brainwave of beta, so there's beta, alpha, theta, and delta. Delta is when we're completely unconscious and we're asleep. Beta is up here, high brainwave activity, very, very high frequency. And it's a lot of stuff going on there. We're doing calendar invites, to-dos, we're thinking, we're making decisions, we're planning, doing all that stuff. And there's an aspect of our life where that's important, especially entrepreneurs, people who are high performers. We're in that state many, many hours during the day. And then they go kind of right down really quickly through all those and go back to sleep. And then they wake up and do the same thing over again, right? When our brain, that activity and the conscious mind is we're always there, we're not really tapping into the unlimited potential that lies inside of us, which is the unconscious mind and the superconscious mind. The unconscious mind is where all of our beliefs are stored, where our unconscious mind is running our body. We don't have to think about our heartbeat. We don't have to think about our breathing. All of these things are being done on the back end, on the inside. And the unconscious mind is also where it stores our long-term memory and where a lot of these experiences we have are stored. There's incredible amounts of potential in there. But it's also, we're not taught how to use that, how to access that. And the superconscious is like the internet to the universe. It's when we're asking questions and trusting ourselves. How do we tap into a higher power, God, whatever you want to call, whatever it is for you, if you're religious or spiritual, it's how do I get those answers and how do I tap that into my intuition so that I can solve problems and get what I want in life. But the unconscious mind is that place where there's a holding ground for a lot of the stuff that we don't process. And like I said, it's like the shadow stuff. It's the stuff that people want to sweep under the rug and never have to deal with it.
Yeah.
But that's what creates the disease.
That's awesome. Thank you for that explanation. I'm going to take a little step deeper here. So you talked about it's a holding place.
Yeah.
Is there a place, a physical place in our mind that holds the subconscious mind, or is it just, I don't know. There?
Well, I like to say this, our mind, our entire body is bathed in I'm forgetting the word, but our neuroplasticity, our neurotransmitters aren't just in our brain, it's in our whole body. So is there a physical place in the brain? Yes. And it's our whole body. Our whole field here can store trapped trauma in energy, and emotions. So yes, it's all connected. Sometimes when I'm asking people, hey, when you feel when you have fear coming through about a particular thing, where do you feel it in your body? Some people will say, oh, well, I feel on the right side of my head and in my chest, It's weird because people can when that fear comes up, oh my God, it's like in my back, it's always hurting here or wherever it may be. So people are aware of this stuff. And for the most part, most people can kind of feel into that, but yeah, it's stored in lots of different places. So the unconscious mind is in consciousness, this field of consciousness. And it's here, but it's everywhere. But when it's coming through our field and our experience, our personal experience, it can then get stuck in our body. And that's where diseases and things can get created, right? That's where we need to be healthy mind, healthy heart, healthy body, and let go of these things and let them process and cry, let it out, yell, scream. When we have all this stuff tied in here, I don't know if you've ever been sitting watching a movie or a commercial and you start to weep, well up. And a lot of guys, and I've had this experience too, where I start to well up and then I want to stop it. No, I want to cry right now. I don't let this out. That is your physical body saying, no, this needs to happen. This needs to flow out. This needs to happen. And the more that we get okay with crying, especially as men and women, just cry, let it out. It is such a beautiful release. Have you ever felt bad after crying?
No, I feel good.
Right? It's a beautiful release. And I think in society, we just think, oh, something's wrong with that person. We need to give them a hug. Or just need to let them be and let them get the stuff out. It's super healthy when just people can get it out and cry and be ugly and snot everywhere. I just want it to be okay for people to be like, oh boy, let's give that person some space and love to go through what they're going through.
Yeah, it's like one of those guys, right?
Yep, yeah. I've had some cries too.
Well, and it's a cleansing thing. It's funny. You made me think of this. I read this book years ago, The Healing Back Pain, The Mind-Body Connection.
Oh, yeah.
Have you read it?
Yes, I have.
John Sarno, and I
Yeah.
had back pain for years, and I couldn't get rid of it. And I did everything till Wednesday to like all the different therapies, this, that, and everything, and nothing was working. And
Yeah.
I read this book, and it basically to understand there's this tension that's built up inside of us, and if we don't let it get out, it has to manifest itself some way, shape, or form. And if you don't do something to get it out, it's going to come out in the form of headaches, migraines, back pain, ulcers, what have you.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hearing to some extent here. Would you agree with that?
I do agree with that. There's, in fact, I don't, it's over in my bookshelf over here. When I have clients that come to me and say, whether something's chronic or acute, meaning, oh, I just fell and my back's hurt, but I can't get rid of it, or they've had a problem for a long time, I pull out my book. It's called Messages from the Body. And it's this big, huge book. And that's one of several volumes. And so what I do is I say, okay, let's say the person's dealing with like a back thing. Oh, I had a thing in my back where I would do my lifting, and anytime I did like incline bench press, this thing would pinch in the back, and it was for years. And so even with the work I'm doing, I finally had to it was something to do with my mom. It was a unresolved issue with my mother that I didn't realize I still had. And then there's other things. So what's really interesting, from your head to toe, there are things that are stored in our body, and there have been patterns that have been passed down for years and years and years and documented to say, hey, if this is going on, it could be X, Y, or Z. And that gives, as a hypnotherapist, as a performance coach, it helps me say, oh, okay. So, client Bob, let's talk about, your mother, or let's talk about what's going on here. Does this resonate with you? Okay, let's go into the unconscious mind. Let's go into the theta state, and let's explore what this pain may be. And many people come in to me and say, well, I've gone to the doctors, I've gone to the acupuncturists, I've gone to all this. And then they come to me and we do a session. I'm not a doctor. I'm not claiming I'm healing people, but it's like when we do this work, it's like the next few days, things unravel. And it's like they didn't need to do any of that stuff because this stuff gets stuck.
It's like the whole psychosomatic piece, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And especially guys don't want to buy into that because it's from past trauma, memory, whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It is interesting. The unconscious mind can even do things to such a degree where we end up like when I'm snowboarding up there, I have had some falls as I'm learning, and like, but there's also like, there's learnings. There's sometimes the body will kind of hurt not to hurt you physically, but like bring your attention to something. Oh no, I just fell when I was running. It's like, or did you just fall and that just happened? And then this led to this. And it's interesting how our unconscious mind can work in unique patterns and ways to tell us what's going on. And that's why meditation and being quiet and just aligning with yourself. Hypnosis is like meditation with a goal. We're looking for an end result where we're doing something specific to have an end result. And when we're meditating and being quiet and just allowing, I mean, not a walkthrough meditation, not a recording. I'm just talking about silence, quietness, connecting with yourself allows you in your unconscious mind to have a better relationship. As well, the more that you do hypnotherapy, working with a person one-on-one or doing group coaching, like some of the stuff I do, the more you learn to close your eyes and move into alpha and move into theta, the easier your life is going to be, the easier you're going to have more congruency within the different wavelengths. And you're going to be able to really feel and sense more about what's going on inside of you and then process that stuff. And it really does help when you have somebody to guide you through this, because your mind can hide things from you and be very, very cautious. But I think it's all about practice. It's all about learning how to get into those deeper states instead of coffee, caffeine, sodas, work, and then go right to sleep, or go fall asleep to Netflix kind of stuff at night. These are unhealthy patterns that are just recoding our reality right now. So in the present moment, everything we're doing right now is coding the future. And if we're showing up, and here's if you don't mind, here's like a quick
go.
The hot air example, hot air balloon. Have you ever been up in a hot air balloon?
No.
Okay.
And I don't want to go on.
It's a wonder. And if you have scared of heights, that's a whole nother thing.
No, I'll jump out of a plane. I jumped out of a plane twice, but I don't want to go up in a hot air balloon. I don't know why.
Got it. But the concept is very simple. You get up in the morning. They take the huge balloon out and lay it down. They bring out these big fans and they start blowing air underneath, kind of lift it up just to start getting the air in there. So then they can put the basket in the flamethrower, or whatever it's called, the flames. So they start to get the basket up, and the balloon is still filling up. Well, they start to tether down and make sure that it doesn't fly off, right? You don't want to make sure it's gone. So actually, I think they tether it down first. Well, once that's ready, the balloon's ready, everybody jumps in. Being in a hot air balloon that's ready to go is like you choosing your goals, saying, hey, we're ready to go. The vehicle's ready. My dreams are this way, or here, 2023, the next 90 days, this is my big goal. This is my plan. This is my vision. This is what I want to go for. And they start pulling the fire thing and they want to just go. But what do they not stop and think to do? They forgot to take off the tethers.
That's right.
When the basket is tethered down by 6 to 12 different really tight ropes, that's going to make things very difficult. What a lot of, I think, coaches, there's a lot of brilliant coaches out there in the conscious mind realm, which are like, yep, get your goals down, write them down, visualize it, affirmations, all that, go, go, go. That's wonderful. But you've got to take a moment to stop and think about, what do I need to let go of? What are the things I need to let go of that were holding me back from the identity, the person I want to step into? And in this present moment, it's, what are those things? Well, what are the things that I think consciously I need to let go of that I've been really hanging on to that could be tethers holding me back? Now, we can say we don't know, but many times we do. If we take some time to really sit in it and make a list of things that we want to let go of, that's the first step in really moving to that next end result, or that new identity we want to create. Because if we can cleanse the present self of the things we need to let go of, and that can take days, weeks, months to cleanse this stuff out. I think it's always an ongoing thing as well. But if we can cleanse a lot of things that are holding us back from who we were before, then we can say clearly, okay, the tethers are off. Now, what would I love to create? Not what do I want in life? Not what did other people, what do I want that the society wants me to want? What would I love to create? And that's where we step into these new end results without the tethers. That's what I essentially do, is help you get in the hot air balloon, let go of the tethers, and go where you want to go with the path of least resistance. Life doesn't have to be so damn hard. Business doesn't have to be so damn hard. If we let go of the tethers, let go of that stuff, life gets a lot easier.
Do you find yourself getting tethered down once in a while?
Oh yeah. Constantly got to be identifying these tethers. When you're in relationship, so my wife is absolutely incredible woman, and everybody has their own stuff, but as we're having tethers, we together as a couple need to identify, what are we hanging on to? What do we need to let go of? Like, what coming into 2023, it was for us, is like, what do we need to let go of as a couple? Right? Not just individually, but what are those things? And we've got to we kind of do it on a monthly basis, almost like an audit of your tethers. It's consistently. And then, once you think you've let go of one, something else may happen in the future to kind of reattach that. Okay, now we got to go back and clean that up. It's constantly keeping your unconscious and your conscious mind clean of these things so that you can just be a beautiful vessel of life showing up.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because I'm sitting there asking myself, like, some people might think, okay, here's AJ, he's his coach, he's got this stuff going on, he's perfect, and he doesn't have any tethers. So I'm glad you shared that, right? And I'm wondering, okay, who is his coach or mentor? Is your wife the person who coaches you through it? Do you coach yourself through it, or do you have somebody else that does what you do that kind of takes you through this as well?
I believe we all need a team. We need people outside of us. It's easy to want to do it yourself. And I think that's a pathway or a strategy that at some point doesn't serve you. My wife and I do coach each other, but we both have our own coaches, and we have a group thing. So I believe it takes a village. Like, I have some oracles in my life, call them my oracles, because they are like really tapped into the universe, and they really help me see things I don't ever see. I have my own hypnotherapist. Megan has her own hypnotherapist. We have a sexologist, or like a relationship person for both of us. And we have other people who are just very good at specific things, and we add them to our team. Body workers, massage therapists, like, it's mind, body, soul. We got to take care of this whole package here. And just having one person is kind of a little dangerous strategy, though it depends on your budget and all that as well. But like, we really believe in having multiple people giving us these perspectives to help us out.
That's great. That's great. So if you could explain something to the audience here. So what is hypnotherapy? Can you explain that?
Yeah, it's like meditation with a goal. It's been around for thousands of years, since the early Egyptian times. Hypnotherapy's been there. And I do want to have one caveat. There's movies, media, Las Vegas, stage show, hypnosis. There's a lot of stuff that has been used and abused in a way that doesn't give hypnotherapy a good light. One thing about hypnotherapy that people don't know is that you're always in control, meaning I'm not a hypnotherapist that's here to make you get on stage and cluck like a chicken in front of people. Those are very specific stage hypnosis, though can be fun and entertaining. That's for entertainment. What we're talking about is simply meditation with a goal, meaning we have a certain end result for each session that we're going through. And also all we're doing is getting your brain waves, your body, mind, heart into a lower frequency. So we're going from beta to alpha, passing through there and getting into theta. Theta is where we can recode the unconscious mind. That's where I'm able to help shine a light on the depths of the unconscious mind and be a guide so that you or the person I'm working with has full control to make the decisions they want to. Even though some people look like they're completely asleep, they're not in delta. They're not completely out. They're very conscious, but they're very relaxed. They're in this cathartic state where they're just in their mind. They're in this unconscious realm where we're able to actually do the real work. It's bypassing the critical factor of the mind. And everybody experiences hypnotherapy, by the way. We're always in different states of hypnosis or trance. So for example, have you ever been leaving work or school or the gym and you're super tired, but you got to get home, you get in, you drive, and somehow you're there. You get it. You're like, I don't even remember driving. How did I get here? Your automatic nervous system, everything, your unconscious mind is number one goal is to keep you safe. So it knows how to automatically do these things already because you've been doing them, conditioning. And so it's here to keep you safe. And that's a great thing. And it's also, well, okay, Rob wants to do another best-selling book and wants to make another $1 million this year and wants to go live in Fiji. The unconscious mind says, ooh, we've never done that before. That's not safe. No, I don't think so. When your logical mind and your emotional mind have a conflict, emotional mind's always going to win. I'll repeat that. You can look at left or right brain, or you can look at, logical and creative. Either way, left or right brain. When there's a conflict between the left and right, or the creative and the logical, emotional is always going to win. The unconscious is always going to overwrite what you want with the conscious mind. So if your conscious mind, you're like, here's my new goal, I'm going to go this way. And the unconscious mind is going this way. Unconscious mind is going to win every time. That's why we have to do this deep unconscious work. If we don't, we're going to keep beating our head against the wall, doing affirmations, doing this, and slowly getting there. Whereas with unconscious work, we can rapidly recode what we're doing and have changes that are pretty permanent, like long lasting meaning, right? Like quitting smoking, things like that are very small examples, but that's where we're really understanding what the thought behind the thought, what's actually driving the behavior is. It's usually very different than what people think up here. They think they know what's going on, but it's actually something different down here.
This is incredible stuff, AJ. Thank you for sharing all this. I mean, so before we let you go here, how much more chiseling you got going on in your life?
Oh man, that's a great question. This year's about chiseling and doing less, but making a bigger impact. So right now, my wife and I are selling one of our companies. I'm stepping more into my Dharma, my practice, building my one-on-one practice, building my one-to-many, my group coaching and community, and then doing some events in Norway that are going to be really powerful. So for me, it's how do I want to show up and make a bigger impact in the world? So how am I chiseling the stuff away? How am I letting go of the stuff that I don't serve me, that have been holding me back, and really playing a bigger game into this new realm, as well as having more free time. And hopefully my wife and I can get married this year. Our wedding got canceled in COVID, September 2020. It's important. It was going to be in Portugal and all that. So we've got some big things we want to accomplish this year, but we want to simplify. So it's like chiseling away all the stuff that we don't want and only focusing on those really major things that are going to move the needle for us, and also bring a lot of more joy, happiness, and low stress into our life.
Yeah, I use the mantra in my real estate business all the time: less is more. Less is
Less is
always
more.
more. It's always
Yeah.
more. And I say it, I think it. I don't always practice it,
Yeah.
but I'm aware of it. I'm totally aware of it. And I didn't mention something early on, AJ, that when I introduced you, that you are a best-selling author. If you want to
Yeah.
share that, share the title of the book and where they can find it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly don't think that one's in print anymore. It was a long time ago. It was when I was 21 years old. It's
That's
called The
okay.
One, and it was a self-development spin on the Matrix movies. And
Uh-huh.
so I launched it with the Matrix movies. It was a number 8 bestseller on Amazon back in the day. I've written some other books and all that, but they weren't bestsellers. But it was really fun to, all of the stuff I'm doing now is about getting us out of the rat race of the matrix, unplugging and stop letting the unconscious beliefs run our life. Stop living the stories that are from our past. Let's unplug, which means tapping into your unconscious mind, doing the cleansing work that needs to be done, doing the hard stuff. Because once you're through that, life just gets so much more beautiful and easy. And so it's really just like living on our own terms, living on demand, creating the results we want to create. And it's funny that I had said that or done that book when I was 21 years old, but it was really about becoming the one, freeing your mind, freeing your, opening your heart. That's what it's truly about. So it's the same message as I have now, but just kind of a different, cool take on it with the Matrix movies.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a beautiful conversation. At 21, writing a book, that's amazing. And I know you've written a few others. So
Yeah.
I'm so impressed by you. I'm privileged to have you on here. So thank you for that. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you, AJ, to talk about all this stuff here and
Yeah.
maybe hire you on, how would they get a hold of you?
Oh, I really appreciate it. I love these kind of conversations. So thank you for having me on, first of all. But yeah, ajyager.com, just my website, ajyager.com. You can click on the button to have like a free kind of complimentary 15 to 30-minute introduction session where I'm just happy to get on the call, have a conversation, just talk about what's going on in your life, what's not working, what's working, what do you want instead, and then kind of from there see if it's a good fit. And that's for my one-on-one practice. And then if you just shoot me an email or go on the website there and get on my mailing list, I'll let you know when these new programs are coming out that I'm launching this year, since I'm doing this all full time.
Man, that's awesome. AJ, thank you so much again. This has been awesome for me to hear. I've learned a few things today. I'm sure the audience has learned as well. And I can't tell you how much I'm appreciative of you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on. Have a good one.
Thank you. And until next time, everybody, let's go get chiseled.